It's the political season, especially that of elections, and the conversation about vote buying has again reared its ugly head. Now, the practice of vote inducement was not only illegal, it is also an act of corruption. Now, to fulfill this main principle of democracy, it is expected that political parties will do their campaign, at least try to get the confidence of the voters, and also get the electorate to be on the right footing. This creepy culture of voter inducement definitely is sure making a mockery of the nation's democratic process. The alleged see and buy vote issue was widely reported in last Saturday's governorship elections. Now, what needs to be done? Isn't it disheartening enough that people will actually openly demand and declare that they need to be paid to vote for whoever? Now, the question is, why are votes being sold and bought brazenly in that manner? My guests will provide answers to these as well as other questions on the program, Nigeria Today. Welcome. My name is Blessing Abu. Yes, joining us in the studio today, we have Mr. Ezenwa Nwago, who is the chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms, and also a member of the working group of Watching the Vote, Yaga Africa. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
It's my pleasure. Good evening.
Joining him on set, we'd like to welcome Rotimi Oyekomi. He is the Chief Press Secretary to INEC Chairman. Mr. Oyekomi, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it was a busy weekend for everyone who was in Ekiti, and I'm sure on the other side too, some people decided to go in a very open manner to do what we thought should have been done away with, at least since we're doing another round of elections now. Vote buying, brazenly done, this culture is becoming uglier by the day. Mr. Ezenwa.
Yeah. I liked the part about creepy in your opener, which means that it's not a new phenomenon.
Certainly.
We saw it in Edo, we saw it in Ondo, Anambra. In fact, the challenge is that you need to take off that word inducement. You no longer can talk about voter inducement. That would be, you should find another word now, because if you say people are openly interested in being bought.
So it's not as if it's one-sided now.
Their votes. So inducement is that you compel, because that is what it used to be. You go to people, politicians go to the voters' house and give them money, compel them to swear on Quran or Bible that they will vote in their houses. So you don't get. So at that point, you could use the word inducement. Now, what has happened, especially over a period of time, is that there's a brick wall in INEC. All right, politicians before now will take money to operatives within INEC. Materials will be diverted. The voting will take place. I mean, thumb printing will take place in people's homes, and then that operative will bring that back, and then the result is announced, and you are told to go to court. Okay, so the gods of election were the EOs, the one they call EOs. They were the gods of the election. They could decide where material gets to. They could decide to shortchange in the number of ballot papers they take to anywhere where they think the dominant political party is. They could decide, shut down their phones. You can't reach them. Their supervisors are looking for them. And then what that meant was that materials would not get to the place where they are expected to get on time. So the focus will be failed elections, logistic challenges. That was what you knew with INEC. All right. So because that didn't happen in Ekiti
at all,
it did not happen. The materials got to the place they were supposed to get to. The voting, counting, collation was open and transparent. Political party agents were in polling units, collected polling unit results. There are some of them who couldn't get into the ward collation point, but polling units, according to Watching the Vote, 98% of polling agents had their results as at closing off. So results were already there.
Okay.
So what then? That closure within INEC is what you are seeing now. So the politicians having made that
brick wall
are taking the money to the brazenly
yeah.
to close to the polling unit because it's not done. It's not done on the line.
Which is let's say bring on INEC and now. Yes, you had your officials on ground. We had over 30 or about 30,000 policemen, as was given as figures for those who were there, and some other monitoring officers. Well, you people were there to monitor, observe, and still, this was done close to the polling units, as you already pointed out. But for it to actually even happen in daylight, isn't that ugly for us to actually contend with, despite the guidelines that INEC will have given?
Thank you very much. You know, the business of INEC really is to conduct elections.
Yes.
And in our laws, what happened, what they call buy and vote or see and vote, see and buy, is actually an offense under the Electoral Act. It's referred to as bribery. Now, that offense carries a 12-month imprisonment term or a fine of 500,000.
So who is to enforce this?
That's where the question is. You know, the law stipulates the penalties and the offenses, but INEC does not have the power to arrest culprits. You know, that's not within our mandate.
So who has the power?
It's
INEC.
It's the police, actually. The police has that power to arrest. It's within their jurisdiction. So, you know, in an election situation, we are so busy with so many things. Probably 4 to 5 officials to a polling unit. You accredit, you attend to people, the elderly, the people with special needs and all of that. So you are busy doing that, and you have little time to pay attention to what is happening around. And even if you see what is happening, you can only call the attention of the security agent to that particular act. So I think that a lot of factors come into play why people engage in that.
Which is my next question. Why do you think people will engage in that when they know this is an electoral offense and something that could be punishable under the law?
I don't think many people know the offenses really, and in the rural areas. I think people are not aware that they could be jailed for engaging in such things. But I've heard a lot of narratives around the economic situation in the country. You know, in the States, people say that the minimum wage is 18,000 naira, and somebody comes on election day and offers you 5,000 naira to vote. So the temptation is very high, you know. But I think that if we do some more voter education to say...
Which was what we expected INEC to have done or had been doing all over the time.
We have been doing it, but we can't do it enough. This is a huge country.
Okay. Thank you.
Make a little point so that we understand that we are between the rock and a hard place, especially when it comes to dealing with the issue of vote buying. And the reason is simple. If you arrest a perpetrator, if the police arrests or security agents arrest a perpetrator at the polling unit, the political party that will be denied that will not say they are buying votes. They will say police is harassing their supporter. And that is a veritable ground to start trouble. They are not going to admit that
this is what is
this is what happened. It will be converted immediately to say, you know,
intimidation and harassment.
In connivance with perhaps the ruling party decided to arrest our supporters, because the buying thing is a crime that everybody, especially the dominant political parties, are involved in. So it's not like one is an angel, the other one is the devil. It's just that one probably outpaces the other. Okay. You know?
Now, Mr. Wagu, let's even break down things in a simpler form. Mr. Yekomi just talked about even the people not being aware of what should constitute an offense, maybe electoral offense in terms of vote buying or see and buy. Basically, is it just about money when money is being exchanged for votes, or could there be other things that
I've looked at?
You've monitored over time,
I've observed all of this. There are people who are not poor, so poor, who collect this money. And then there are different levels of gratification. There is delayed gratification, which the elites are involved in. The elites don't take money from polling units, but they work expecting appointments. Okay? They are expecting contracts. They are expecting, so in some sense, they are also, you know, it's not that they are doing it for...
So sometimes it doesn't have to just be on the election day proper.
No, we need to have a wider conversation, and that conversation is not taking place. Because we blame the poor, because the poor takes 5,000. But you who also gets appointment because you supported, mobilized, in quote, for a particular person, and then gets rewarded with an appointment or a contract or ambassadorial position, there is also you've been gratified in some sense. So the point then is, let's take that away from the poverty conversation, because, oh, you know, they are doing it because they are poor. And I asked somebody in Ekiti, I said, if an armed robber steals your thing and takes it away, and then you see the person, and the person says, oh, I stole it because I was poor, are you going to clap for the person?
Certainly no.
And he said no. I said the argument for robbery, the argument for prostitution, the argument for all sorts of things is that, oh, we are poor. But there are people who go through worst case scenarios that don't indulge in those things. So we can't give comfort to people who do this by claiming that they are poor. But that is an extreme position. If you owe people salary for 7 months, 5 months, and you don't pay them, okay, and on the eve of election, you make a cash transfer of 3,000 naira to the account, and then some other person comes and gives them 5,000 naira on the morning of the election. They've made 8,000 naira, whichever way. And so we can preach all that we want, but we are not directing attention to the politicians and their malfeasance and the things that they do to deepen the crisis that we face. Definitely. Okay? You also have to deal with the challenge of whether this democracy is working for the ordinary people. Which is what we're going to find out after this break, because we've been talking to Nigerians too on what they thought happened at last Saturday's election. Yes, this, like we said, is a creepy thing over the time. We'll be right back with my guest, that's Mr. Oyekomi, as well as Mr. Wagu, after we'll look at this clip with Nigerians talking to us on vote buying.
Sir, will you be willing to sell your votes for any amount? How will I? It's not possible. Why will I sell my conscience by collecting money to vote for someone who does not work, or for someone who does not even want to contest an election?
Anybody that sells his vote, he did a bad thing to himself.
I think the electorate should be educated. They should be educated on the disadvantages of selling their votes, that their vote counts.
I will not advise anybody to sell his vote, because when you sell your vote, then you have no right to complain.
Both the seller and the person, even the politician that bought it, the two of them need to be punished.
Yeah, thank you very much. If you just joined us, you're watching Nigeria Today, and our focus is on vote buying. I have my guest still seated, Ezenwa Wagu, as well as Rotimi Oyekomi. Now, so Oyekomi, could you say, of course, there will be worries for INEC over this trend? It's becoming messier by the day. Worries, challenges for INEC, and monitoring election financing generally. What's the buttress here?
Well, you know, in one of the stakeholders meetings we had with the security agencies, the INEC chairman specifically appealed to the Inspector General of Police to assist in this regard, because we discovered that this has been a trend that has been evolving, and it's an offense, really. We are not helpless, but I think that going forward, there will be need to devise other ways of attacking this thing frontally. From our side, voter education. But then, if you look at Ekiti, the state office engaged in a lot of public enlightenment about offenses, about how to conduct yourself and all of that, across many radio stations, including the ones that speak indigenous languages, you know. And I remember even during the stakeholders meeting, you know, the REC specifically asked politicians not to induce officials, not to induce voters, you know, this involved traditional rulers, you know, the REC consulted with traditional rulers, with religious leaders over time, you know, as part of the voter education enlightenment.
So it wasn't as if it was lack of voter education.
No,
it was a matter of what the people too feel.
Yes, the people. So I think it's personal, because from what we hear, you find people making individual decisions. Some people will not do it, but some will. So how do you determine what happens? Like you said, some people that are not so poor will still take the money, but some that obviously have the need will also take the money. So it's something that we still need to have a conversation
There's the
about.
conscience of the society being threatened, and also democracy. Should we say democracy for sale now?
Modified. Blessing, we need to get a little bit, step a little bit back, take a breath. We talk about traditional rulers, religious leaders. The election period is harvest time for these categories of people that you talked about. Politicians go to their homes and they go to receive blessings. When they go to receive those blessings, they don't receive them free of charge.
Wow. Tell me more.
No, so you get to start, because you see, we play the ostrich in our country a lot. The whole gamut of our election is completely commodified. From the intention, from just saying I want to run, and I want to run under a platform that they think is dominant. They charge you money, the exorbitant amount of money, before you can become a candidate of a party. When you become that candidate, the party takes a back seat. When they take that money from you, they don't bring kobo. Every rally you go to, you are the one who mobilizes everybody. You finance everybody, take them to the place. You start going to, there are people who have card, they have become stakeholders. Their name, their job is stakeholder. You know, so
that's a strong word on the political terrain.
No, so their job is stakeholder. So the politician takes money to them, goes to their houses, visits them. The traditional ruler you want to help you curb vote buying is a happy man already. All right, so we need to have a conversation whether we truly want to clean our election.
Do you see us truly wishing to clean this up?
We should, and that is why when you invite us to this platform, we come. Put it out there. There is no need, running away from it. We are not serious about anything. We are not serious. Even the media. Look at what narrative, what is the framing that we do as the media? Oh, Blessing is a very honest broadcaster. Everything. Then they put the last part. She doesn't have money.
How you tell you?
do you understand? What they are saying is that all the other qualities and value that you have is secondary. That what is important. So you are putting it out to people that, look, for you to engage in this, for you to serve your people, one of the things that needs to happen is that you need to be a money bag and a deep pocket. So for me is that the pretense that we want to attack vote buying without looking at the corollary consequences of where this is going is important. Having said that, we cannot stop at voter education. We will now get into voter engagement. Before the election, what is the conversation that is taking place?
Exactly.
What is voter education? My friend Rotimi, I've continually said, your 30 minutes program on television, what does it say? Does it tell us where the chairman visited? The chairman had meeting with EU. The chairman had meeting with civil society. You show it as in your place where you have used public money to pay for time. All that we get to see is that the head of the institution did this and that. So this
advocacy should go more than that.
Advocacy should go to Mr. Ekomi, who is a veteran journalist, coming to say, look, if you sell your votes, what it means is that you cannot be asking for hospitals. You can't ask for good road. 11 million children that are out of school will not be reabsorbed. Those are some of the issues that we'll keep putting out. Okay, this is your 5,000. Can it take you out of poverty?
For the next 4 years, when the person is in rulership. Well, Mr. Yokomi, this is a threat, no doubt. And I'm sure, like you already pointed out, INEC is on top of issues now, seeing what's the narrative that this election brought its way. What's more? What are the kind of conversation being held now?
Well,
based on what you've seen.
I agree with him that we need to focus more on the danger, on the implications of selling your votes. I think sometimes when you look at a problem, you don't discuss it. People tend to just look down on it. But when you bring the proper issues out, and you expand the issues to the provision of infrastructure, the fact that you have 4 years to deal with this person, the fact that these are the things that you'll be denied, the fact that you cannot question, you know, there is this thing about not being able to question authority because you have compromised. When you have been bribed, you cannot say anything. So that is certainly going to be, you know, an eye-opener.
Talking about questioning authorities, I know at least before this particular elections, there were some letters to INEC, at least talking about issue of or anticipation for the votes buying. I wouldn't know what kind of responses they got. You said Chairman talked with the Inspector General of Police.
That's right.
What about the kind of engagement with other political parties, as in the political parties generally?
You know, as part of these consultations, you know, we have these meetings quarterly with, you know, all stakeholders, so to say, political parties, civil society organizations, and all of that. In fact, some of the policies we are executing now were suggested by these stakeholders. Like we plan to do something, we bring it to the table, they tell us, oh, why don't you do it this way, that way? So we are still going to rely on them to get this conversation into the public space, because we can't do it alone. In fact, it was possible because we got the cooperation of all stakeholders. So we need to, you know, we need to put this out there and educate the Nigerians more, not only in English language, but in every language that everybody speaks and understands. Because when politicians go out, they speak all languages, you know, and they engage in all sorts of things. And political parties, there are 68 of them now. When we meet with them, we discuss these issues. We tell them that you can't do this, you can't do that. And we sign a communique and all of that. We do all these things. But when they go out, you find a different thing entirely.
You know, so that means something is wrong. There's a disconnect somewhere.
We need to deal with the arrogance of the dominant political parties. Let's face it. You have IPAC, and then you have a meeting with political parties. APC will send a low-level officer from the secretariat to attend that meeting. The PDP will send you hardly can have a stakeholder meeting where you see the chairman of APC or PDP in any of these stakeholder meetings. They feel they've come to a point where they think that they don't understand that this conversation is part of the ingredients of democracy. Go bring the attendance sheet of all the events, stakeholder meetings that they have had, and see who comes from these dominant political parties. So you are going to see chairman of the parties. Okay, you call for a debate where you are even going to tell these people you will see them. They are not going to come. They won't come, and we are comfortable with it. We don't call them out. INEC has not wielded the big stick and said this meeting is for your leadership.
Which is why I still put the question back to INEC. Is INEC challenged in any way to subverting some of those areas that have been coming up from time to time?
Well, we are trying. You know, when you invite somebody for a meeting, you expect the person to come. If he cannot come, he sends a representative. So how do you deal with that? You know, it's not as if they don't turn up, but it depends on the personality you are looking for. But if the personality genuinely does not have the time to come, he sends somebody.
Every time for something so important.
Well, you know, I don't think that, you know, INEC has a way of compelling the leadership of any political party to attend, because the law doesn't say that we can punish you for not attending the meeting. Because if there's a representation, there's a representation.
Anyway,
let me structure this properly. If you call a national security meeting, for instance, and then the IG sends somebody, maybe the NSA wants a meeting with service chiefs, and every time they call meeting of service chiefs, you send somebody else. The chief of army staff comes, the chief of this comes. INEC, it is not INEC's problem. We are putting this out, calling them out, that the heads of the dominant political parties
are those ones want to see
should not take Nigerians for granted.
All right, now let's wrap up this conversation. I know there are intentional steps from everyone watching, both from civil societies as well as other stakeholders. Let's get back to that word. Yeah. Now, protecting the secrecy of the ballots is key for us. And this shouldn't be, what was that word? Commodified. Yes. Yes. For us to forestall that. Other elections are still being expected. How do we address that and make sure that these people who are going to vote for are accountable at the end of the day? Well,
first, we have to deal with the issue of respect, self-esteem. The arrogance you see around people in power is because they know they purchased. They are conscious of the fact that you didn't make me. So if your House of Rep member thinks that he's truly not your representative, he's representing his cash that he doled out, he's not going to respect you. So what we need, in my view, what we need to quickly do is to begin a deeper conversation, strong conversation. The media, civil society, we need to say, look, before 2019, what will be the most topical issue that we're going to put on the agenda? I think that is important.
Mr. Yekomi.
I agree with that, because that's why we are there. We will have this conversation, and when we meet, we ask questions, we ask for help. How do you think we can deal with these issues? We come to the table with our own remedies, and then we interrogate all these things. I think that conversation needs to continue.
I know.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you saw some of the clips that were being circulated, some from even our foreign media.
Yes,
I
saw the one from BBC.
Actually looked at.
Oh, yes, we saw all of that.
Anyway, thank you very much, gentlemen. That wraps up our chat for Nigeria today. I'd like to appreciate you, the guest, Ezenwa Wagu, Chairman Partners for Electoral Reforms, and also member, working group of Watching the Vote, Yega Africa. Thank you very much for coming. We'd also like to appreciate Rotimi Oyekomi, is the Chief Press Secretary to INEC Chairman. Thank you also for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
I would also like to thank you for being a part of the program. And remember, you can watch Nigeria Today online at www.youtube.com NTA News 24 Hub. My name is Blessing Abu. Enjoy the rest of your evening.